She survived ADHD. Then she set out to become an activist and to raise hell. And then started a movement, accidentally, to make sure that others didn't have to do it alone. Laura Mears-Reynolds is the founder and CEO of ADHDAF+, born from her globally successful podcast, ADHDAF, and a community that refused to stay invisible. Diagnosed with combined type ADHD at 38, after a lifetime of being misunderstood, mislabeled, and mismanaged, Laura turned late discovery into loud purpose. What began as a podcast became a movement, the Leopard Print Army, a place where shame is dismantled, truth is spoken plainly, and lived experience finally counts as expertise. Through UK tours, peer support groups, a growing charity, and a marketplace celebrating neurodivergent creators, Laura has built something rare, community in real life, not just online. She's raw, funny, outspoken, and deeply serious about one thing. ADHD is not a trend, it's real, it's dangerous when ignored, and when understood, it can change lives. Laura, that is some bio. Welcome to the show.
She sounds great. Who's that? Hello, thank you very much for having me. I was literally sitting here like, this is amazing. Who's this person?
I did it in my best Marks and Spencer's advert.
Honestly, it was great. I was hooked.
This is not just a podcast. This is MarketPulse. I love it. I love it. So a little bit of background for this episode for the viewers of this show. You'll know that we partner with ADHD Liberty, which is run by Sarah Templeton. And Laura, I met through some work that Sarah Templeton was doing on some top secret videos I'm not allowed to talk about at the moment. You will find out in good course. And having read Laura's background on LinkedIn, I just couldn't avoid asking her to become a guest on the show because I think Laura has an absolutely amazing story, background, experience that I want to share with everybody who's on here. And I'm just going to dive straight into it, if that's all right with you, Laura.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Let's do it. I'm still just enthralled after that intro, and it feels really weird because Sarah Templeton is such a hero of mine. So I'm always like, yeah, that she's like the boss. Right? She's the chief of all things. I can only aspire to be that amazing. But yeah, let's do it.
Sarah is the boss. No matter where she goes, she's the boss. I love it, yes.
And with talons, sparkly talons as well. She's literally my idol. I love her.
Put more black pens. Good grief, more black pens. So let's go back to when you were a kid, Laura. Did you always know that you were a little bit different?
Yes, I always felt very, very different. But interestingly, I'm mixed race. So my dad is Irish and my mum is Caribbean. They both met in London. And so when I was about, I can't even remember how old, I'm not very good with numbers. We moved to Norfolk and all of my friends' parents were born and bred. I already felt sort of really inherently different and I was very tall for my age as well. So I just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. And yeah, I just thought it was that for quite a long time that I just kind of felt, yeah, different, like the odd one out. But I've since learned over the last few years that's such a common experience for people with ADHD to just feel inherently different, or neurodivergent people generally. Yeah.
And I guess it's not something you'd have had the language for, or probably even the cognizance at that age to understand that, other than the fact that you felt a little bit on the edge, a little bit on the outskirts of other people. And, you know, it's something I hear a lot of people talk about.
Yeah, definitely the outsider, but also, you know, obviously, statistically speaking, neurodivergence, it runs in families. And so my family were a bit different. And obviously, it's not just the case of so many people experience when they find out that they have ADHD, they'll tell a parent and they'll be like, yeah, well, I do that. Well, I do that. That's because that's normal, right? But actually, I was really aware that my family were different. It was really intense. My dad is really eccentric, and everyone else just seemed to be getting on all right, and it not be this kind of chaos that I was living with. But again, I kind of put that down to the fact that they were from different parts of the world and we had this different kind of life.
How did that work out for you at school? I mean, the question I sent you originally was emotionally more than academically, but actually I'm quite interested in both because I know there's significant impact on both, right?
Do you know, it's really funny because so it said, people with ADHD, the disparity, the difference between the things that we can do well and the things that we don't do well can be much bigger the neurotypical people. Again, I don't know how that's measured, but I know that I was either brilliant or terrible. And, you know, like a lot of people, you'd excel in one area and not in another. So I'm good at writing, I'm good at do English, history, occasionally get into languages, but I did bunk off a lot, so I did miss a lot. But, you know, all of that side of things, drama, art, and then maths, not so much. I've got dyscalculia, all of that stuff. But what was really interesting in hindsight, what was really challenging at the time was that actually I could go into the same lesson on a different day and be a completely different person in terms of how much I could concentrate, what I could get done, how much I would contribute, if I could even understand what was going on, if I was just completely distracted and laughing with a friend. But for me, because my parents were quite strict, I really never wanted to get in trouble. My mum was a teacher, so education was really important. So I know that I was always going into those rooms and doing my very best, or at least doing my very best not to get in trouble. But on any given day, that would look so different, and very often I would get in trouble. And the thing is, you know, I used to say, before I knew about any of this, I was born with a capital T for trouble on my forehead. I never go looking for it, but it always finds me, and I'll always be the one that gets the blame. It's that, and it still follows me now. But I remember one very specific situation with a teacher, an English literature teacher. I really liked her, we got on well, and I do like writing, and I do all right at it. And it was coming up to my GCSEs. I had to hand in my GCSE coursework, and I hadn't handed in literally any of it, like none of it. And it was literally like, I'm not kidding, I think I did all of my GCSE coursework in about a week or even just a couple of days. I can't remember exactly. And I handed it in, and she looked at it, and I was expecting her to go like, well done, you've done so well. And she was absolutely fuming. She was just like, this is disgusting. Like, do you know how hard some people have been working on these things for months? And I know that you have just done this. I know that you've literally just done this. And then, of course, the next thing is, imagine what you could do if you actually applied yourself, if you actually tried. And so the emotional side of it for me was that I really was trying. And I found it so incredibly, not just demoralizing, but actually quite frightening to be like, I can't understand why on Monday I've got laser beams shooting out of my eyes and I can turn out 1,500 words in like 2 seconds. And on Wednesday, I can't even connect pen to paper, or, you know, like quill, because we're that old. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally, it was like that. I couldn't understand it. And the weirdest part is, because I've never been good at sleeping, I would lie awake at night just worrying about it. Oh my God, I have to get this done. I have to get this thing done. And if I don't hand it in tomorrow, I'm going to get in loads of trouble. What can I say? What can I say? And I'm talking like 8 hours of that. Instead of just doing the thing, I was worried sick about not doing the thing and exhausting myself so much just in all of that worry and panic that you almost feel like you've done it sometimes because you spend so much time thinking about it. And I think, and I will be honest here, and I just want to say, like, I'm going to use some not very nice words here, but it's the language that I had at the time. So my dad, it is very clear now, is the most ADHD man alive, right? But when we were children, he himself would refer to himself in this way. He would say, I'm mad. And I grew up with a very real fear that I might be too. And so those little things, the things that didn't make sense, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm mad. You know, and that is it's such a horrible thing to say. You know, you've got these ideas in your mind of some like Victorian bloody, you know, whatever, we'd all get locked up for being crazy. It's horrendous. You know, my dad did have poor mental health. I struggle with my mental health, but all of that is a knock-on effect of unidentified, unmanaged, and very badly mistreated ADHD. Cool, I've been talking for a long time. Sorry about that.
I could jump off on tangents on almost everything that you've said there, right? Like I identify so. I laughed a little bit when you mentioned about being a troublemaker, right? Like having trouble on your forehead, right? Not that long back, I was at a funeral. And I drove my car.
Did you laugh?
No,
Okay,
I didn't. No,
okay.
I wasn't that bad. It was, but I'm parking the car up. There's not enough space outside of the... double check. Sorry, just I thought I'd lost you a second there. Right, we're back.
No, you just froze.
Right. So, yeah, I was at a funeral and I'm driving my car to pick everybody up, transport everybody, and I'm parking. There's no space outside the church, so I'm going to park over the road, and there's like a petrol station with a shop and stuff on it. And everybody's saying, I just park inside the petrol station, there's some customer bays in there. I'm like, what, in the customer bays? Yeah. So I'm right, okay, I've got the family in the car and I drive in, and I'm looking at the wall and it's got sign up saying, you're only allowed to park here if you're a customer and it's only for so long. And I'm like, no. And I drove round out the car park and back down the side street and parked there. And my wife's dad's outside. He's furious. He's like, well, why didn't you park in there where I told you to park? I'm like, because I find trouble, right? If there's something
because I don't want to get arrested at this funeral.
It's going to happen to me. So I'm going to play it safe and I'm parking there because I know I'm allowed to park there. And I park there. Yeah. I know, sod's law, a traffic warden will come past, they'll look at what I'm doing, or somebody will report me or something. I don't know, but I'm not doing it because I have too many experiences where I'm the guy that gets caught doing these things that everybody else does and doesn't even worry about. 100%.
Right? The other side of that as well is that I kind of get picked for everything. A couple of years ago, we went to London Dungeon, my husband and I, and not only did I start the Great Fire of London, I was also tried as a witch. So there you go. It's always been something. It's right, like, that one.
Yeah. Fun with that one. Yeah. But it isn't it, right? Like, I love being the class clown. I love acting out. I love, like, not to a point where not until I go into senior school did I start getting in trouble because I took things too far once I got to teenage years. As a young kid, I was always quite diligent with my schoolwork and stuff. But everything you said there around coursework, and I think I find, again, I could just jump off into so many different things, and I need to structure this conversation. I'm in danger of doing my very ADHD thing.
You what? You what? Structure? What's that?
So, bringing it back to you, Laura. Bringing it back to you. So,
okay.
I imagine, again, just kind of as I've said there, right, as a young kid, there's worries there, and it's hard, but it's manageable. But then as you become a teenager and hormones get thrown into the mix and social circles become very important, and friends and partners and boyfriends and girlfriends and all of that sort of jazz, like, how did you feel at that age, knowing that you thought about things a bit differently to everybody else?
Well, I guess I felt like I came into my own, really. I was like, well, this is great because, like, I can talk and I like going out and I don't really need to sleep, and like, I really thought that it was great that sort of period of time. But obviously, the inevitable, I ended up getting in loads of trouble. Of course I did, and that's it. It's like, it's such a funny thing to look back on. You sort of say, well, I don't regret the choices that I made, but I definitely could have made better choices. But I just think, in all honesty, like, I count myself incredibly lucky that I just didn't get in more trouble. I didn't get arrested. I definitely could have been. Do you know what I mean? Like, I made a lot of bad decisions for the fun of it. But, in terms of personal relationships, and even just, well, actually all relationships, I think in those sort of teenage years was when the RSD just became really prevalent. I remember being very anxious if I had a day off. Rejection sensitive dysphoria. Yeah. So the rejection sensitive dysphoria just became really prevalent. It's, as we know with RSD, it's not just an extreme reaction to rejection. It's the thought, the perceived rejection that might not ever happen, that can cause us to feel even like physical pain. And so I remember as a teenager especially, if I had a day off school, I would be worried that everyone was talking about me. I was going to come back to school and everyone would hate me, or that I'd be in loads of trouble. I really did react very intensely to any kind of conflict or anything like that. I spent a lot of my time upset or angry. And the thing that's really strange, and often with us, people with ADHD, we can be so contradictory. So, like, here's me really wanting to like everyone and to be liked and to not have any conflicts. My life is stressful enough. I just want things to be easy and straightforward. But you know what? What did you say? I would have you. Like, and I don't mean that in terms of a physical fight. I've never been in a physical altercation in my life. But like, you want to have an argument with me? No, you don't. I tell you now, you don't. Like, and it's as simple as that. And I don't even mean in terms of like, oh, I mean, I know I sound like a chipmunk. I don't exactly sound very threatening, but when I am angry, I can get very articulate, and I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm not going to back down. Like, that's it. So there was a lot of arguments, and the fact that, yeah, I can actually handle myself in them, it just makes it even more ridiculous that I would even worry about it. You know?
See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm awful in an argument. I'm like, I just get so emotional, and then I start tripping over my words, and every fact and figure and stat that I've ever thought about just pops out of my head, and I just have to go for the jugular verbally. And it's not fun, it's not pretty. I avoid that.
Oh God, and it isn't fun for me either. And I will always cry afterwards, always. Yeah. But what I think is really interesting about what you said there is like, with ADHD, we often talk about like overstimulated or understimulated, right? And a lot of people, like the kind of general consensus of neurodivergence, if we're going to say something was like neurodivergent friendly, then we're going to make sure that it's more calm because, you know, we don't want people to be overstimulated and that causes, like, I am the exact opposite. Being overstimulated makes me concentrate. Like, it's like I can't even begin to concentrate unless there is like an element of danger or shitloads of stimuli all around me, and then I can focus. Yeah. And so actually, yeah, in that heightened state, when there is an argument, I'm actually really articulate. Everything, I can go straight in, and now I can concentrate because I'm furious. But yeah, it's really interesting. So then, I don't know what the question was at this point, you know.
That's fine. I think we got there. Career then. So you're at school. What did you aspire to be when you were young and at school? And what do you think you were going to end up doing? Special shout out in today's episode for our charity partners, ADHD Liberty, led by Sarah Templeton, who are part of the fight to prevent the school to prison pipeline for ADHD and neurodiverse individuals. If you'd like to find out more, you can visit them. The show links are in the notes below, and I would encourage you to go along and have a look and educate yourself on their fight. It's an incredibly important cause, and we're super proud to have them as charity partners for the MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers podcast. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your episode.
I wanted to be a marine biologist or an air hostess. Basically just wanted to get away, but I really like the ocean and I always have, but I just didn't do well enough, so that was a no-go. I nearly became an air hostess, but I realised that, well, actually, I just ended up.
And you were almost a scuba dive instructor, right?
I was a scuba diving instructor. I am a master scuba diving instructor. Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I'm the worst scuba diving instructor in the world because I have absolutely no sense of direction whatsoever. And I make terrible impulsive decisions. It's really sad. It's really genuinely very sad because I love it so much. Like, it is literally like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Oh no, but you're absolutely fucking terrible about it. Sorry, I swore. Absolutely terrible at it. But like, at least now I know why. Whereas actually when I nearly got a few people killed by accident, by making terrible decisions, everyone was fine, everyone survived. But yeah, there was a couple of close shaves that was just like, do you know what, I can't do this anymore, and I don't even know why I can't do this anymore because I'm trying so hard. At least now I know that with all the will in the world, I'm never ever going to be able to find the boat, and if you show me a really massive exciting fish over there, I'm not going to give a second thought to my depth, air, time, nothing. It's just like, that wicked, let's go and look, see ya. Like, that's it.
I can align with that, and I think a lot of people who challenge themselves with sensory perception for whatever reason, there's a lot of people find that calm underwater, in the water, and I certainly like snorkeling. I've never been diving, but snorkeling I loved it off the reef in the Dominican Republic, and left my wife on the beach for about 4 hours, and I can't even swim. And I was out there like diving
and you were sunburned to a crisp.
Oh, I was fine. Yeah, I've got Polish blood, right? Like, I don't really burn, so I was like, I'm fine. I had my pirate bandana on, and I was diving underneath, and it was amazing. Just a whole different world. But like, the peace of being
the peace.
in that place. Yeah.
I think, there's so many different elements to it, especially with scuba diving, is the weightlessness. The weight of the world is literally lifted off your shoulders. The sensory seeking, I actually like the sound of the bubbles and how it feels when I breathe in and out. It's all really sensory. But also, the main one is, well, you've got a key to another world. You don't fit into this one. You go down there. This is all right. I'm not bothering anybody. In theory, I can't get in trouble under here. I did, though.
Found it anyway. So, you got diagnosed at 38 then?
Yes.
It's not far off the age I got I got self-diagnosed. I'm not officially diagnosed yet. So 38.
Official? That's official.
What led to that? Why? How?
So a friend of mine told me, I think I was about 35, a friend of mine told me that she had just been diagnosed with ADHD, and just like everyone else, I thought it was just naughty little boys. I didn't think anything other than that. I thought it was a boys thing, you grow out of it. It meant that you were hyperactive, couldn't sit still. And she didn't fit the bill, not just in gender, but she was very successful, to my mind, got it all together kind of person. And when she started to explain the ways in which it impacted her life, I was like, well, if you've got it, I've definitely got it. And she was just like, yeah, that's why I'm telling you this now. But I kind of just put it down for a bit. I was like, all right, that's interesting. Okay, whatever. Because even though I'd read into it and she'd explained it to me, like many people, many late discovered people, I was in no hurry or had no ability to just get off of my own case. So it wasn't like I went, oh, that's why I do these things, or that's why I'm terrible with finances and can't hold down a job and really over emotional and all these things. I just went, well, I still have a choice though. I'm still making bad decisions. I'm still this terrible person, because I've got in trouble all my life. I let everyone down. I let myself down, etc. I didn't just go, oh, it's that. I went, oh, that's interesting. And then cortisol hormones started to kick in. At the same time as I lost a friend to cancer, a very good friend of mine, and we moved to Scotland. And in the midst of the pandemic, thinking that the pandemic would only be, it's going to be over soon, right? And it wasn't. And so I was just stuck in this place. And I mean that very literally. I sat down on the sofa and I didn't get off it for 2 years, pretty much. I just couldn't do anything. I was like completely crushed by self-loathing and despair, and I couldn't pull myself out of it. So my husband I went on a waiting list just before we moved to Scotland, because I thought, well, I might as well find out more about it. That was it. I thought, okay, that's it. I will find out more about it. I'll go on the waiting list. So the NHS waiting list. So what is it now? It's like 2.5 years later or something. We go to Scotland. I'm there. I'm really depressed, really in a bad way. And things just got worse and worse. Like I literally could not see my way out of it. I'm 38 years old and I genuinely felt like a completely inept human. Like I looked around me and I felt like everyone else was getting on all right. From what I could see, everyone else can pay their bills, manage a bank account, not trip over when they walk down the street, find their way home, all the shit that I just can't do. And it was just so demoralizing. And I genuinely just believed I was completely alone in my struggles. And I was, the worst person in the world. And it basically nearly resulted in me not being here anymore, which is very common statistically. Unfortunately, I think it's 1 in 4 ADHD women has made an attempt on their life. It's either 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, but it's horrific. So anyway, when we moved to Scotland, my husband's work gave me access to getting a private ADHD assessment. And so I jumped at the chance, and it came just at the right time, like literally just at the right time. So at this point, I've been on the waiting list 3 years for NHS, and it was 3 months private, and I just got there. I got diagnosed with severe combined type ADHD. The woman was literally just like, how? Like, you cannot, like, I'm sitting here, my feet are like intertwined together. They're going like this a million miles an hour because I'm pretty much sitting on my hands trying not to knock this microphone. my brain is just going at 1,000,000 miles an hour all of the time. And at that point, with so little awareness, because it's one thing to get diagnosed, it's quite another to actually figure out what that looks like and what that means for you. But with so little awareness, you know, I was just blurting out and feeling everything and taking offense at everything and kicking off at everything. And it was just all the time in every aspect of my life, just destroying it completely. But yeah, when I got diagnosed, I kind of woke up the next day, and that horrible fog that I'd been feeling for years of very serious depression, it kind of rushed in, as it does when you open your eyes in the morning. And I was like, hang on a minute, did that actually happened yesterday? I have ADHD. Like, I don't have to let this play out like this today. And I'm not saying it was like I get a free pass and I'm all right now, but it was like, actually, the way that I have perceived this up till now, it doesn't need to stay this way. I can start to think about this in a different way. I don't have to hate myself, and everything doesn't have to be my fault, and everyone doesn't have to hate me. We can just start to pick this apart a little bit, and bit by bit, it did. And very luckily, I responded really well to ADHD medication, really very well. And yeah, I can honestly say that ADHD diagnosis and treatment has saved my life. Absolutely. Not just giving me a new one or giving me a new chance. Like, I couldn't have gone on as I was, like, genuinely. And, you know, the fact that it did save my life, and the fact that it was through that privilege, that fluke, you know, as I said, I had no money. I wouldn't have got a private assessment. I was like, this is unfair. And there's one thing it's very justice sensitive. So I was like, right, well, as I'm alive, with, you know, the most ridiculous CV of all time, as if I've ever written one. Of course I haven't. You know, this is what I'm meant to do with my life. This is what I can do, is I can give back. I can talk about how unfair this is, and hopefully help some people like me, because the list has only got longer, you know? Anyway, that's at least 15 hours I've been speaking for. Sorry.
No, but it's beautiful, because you've kind of, whilst you're stayed on point, and you've actually answered 3 questions in a row that I didn't need to ask. It's brilliant. I love it. It's so efficient and effective. I love it. But at the same time, though, I think there's much more value to that conversation than most people will even understand at this point. And, you know, before we move on to the rest of the podcast, like, I would please say to anybody who's sitting at home and resonating with any of this, if you're listening along thinking, that could be, maybe that feels familiar, that sounds familiar, go and get checked. Go and speak to someone, speak to a friend, speak to somebody ask around. There's plenty of people who are diagnosed who are more than happy, because anybody who accepts that they have it is more than willing to help others who are yet to accept it or yet to be diagnosed, and to offer support.
100%.
And you know, I do that as a parent, right? Like, for other people who have ADHD kids. As an ADHD person with kids, well, that's so much fun. It's so much fun. But, like, I know what I'm probably at this point through most of the worst of what I was going through, and probably cycle back around again. And I'm there for other people who are going through that. So, yeah, just a quick thought to anybody who's watching along, just please do. We'll put some notes in the show notes. And if nobody else, you've got ADHD Liberty, the charity partners for the show.
And also, I do have to say, even though we haven't got there yet, ADHDAF plus charity support groups are for anybody at any stage of their discovery or diagnosis. So you absolutely do not need to be even anywhere near getting an assessment to attend.
As it should be.
Yeah.
I love it.
As it should.
So then, let's move towards that then, because I think that's a great next segue for the episode. So you decided to start a podcast, right? As everybody does.
No. So I wanted to do local campaigning, right? To my mind. And you know what? I will say this, because it's Sarah Templeton. Out of all the people that I've interviewed on the podcast, Sarah Templeton is the only person who has directly agreed with what my opinion is. On the podcast, I say, like, what would you change about the diagnostic process, whatever. My opinion is that of all the different periods in my life, because we skipped a huge bit here. There's so much for your structure, I'm sorry. Always going rogue. In my teens, I went to the doctor a million times, literally, co-occurring disorders, insomnia, anxiety, depression, all of this stuff. So I've had all of these doctor's appointments. And to my mind, when it came down to it, the actual assessment really should just be a different set of questions and a different pot of pills. what's the difference, to identify these things, right? Depression, anxiety, well, have anti-anxiety meds, have, Prozac, whatever. And actually, it was ADHD all along. Anyway, but it's Sarah Templeton who's like, yeah, I completely agree. I love her. I love the bones of her. But yeah, so anyway, I wanted to do some local campaigning for that. What I wanted to do was get my local doctor's surgery to just basically ask like 5 or 6 screening questions which would sort of signpost towards ADHD, just as a starting point, right? So anybody who came in with anything that could be a co-occurring condition, that was my idea. And at the same time, I was listening to the ADHD Adults podcast, and my neighbour across the way, who I'd just met, she had just found out that she had ADHD as well. And I was like, oh, you've got to listen to this podcast. It's really good. And she said, well, we should start our own. And I went, yeah, that could work. That could work for campaigning. Absolutely. Why not? So we started this podcast, and it's really funny because I know we were talking before about kind of fated things or serendipity and all of that stuff. And when I think back to the first day that we recorded that podcast, it was ridiculous. We both just sat down, barely knew each other, and we were like, right, what should we do then? And I went, well, why don't we just ask each other some questions? Give me a pen. I'm telling you, I wrote out 10 questions in 2 minutes. Those are the same questions that I still ask in interviews. It all just happened. It was just meant to be. And randomly, people started listening. And so, yeah, 2 complete weirdos in a box room in northeast Scotland. And suddenly, you've got psychiatrists in New Zealand recommending our podcast to everyone they diagnose. It's like, it just exploded. It went absolutely everywhere. Yeah. And it was really surreal.
And you went on tour as well, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was again a very me thing to do. Basically, one of the people we interviewed said you should go on tour. And I was like, oh yeah, great, that's a great idea, let's go on tour. And what they actually meant was, come to Manchester, like let's go for beers. And I organised a 17-date tour, which only had like one night off in it, called the Too Much Tour. Not even ironically, I was trying to tell people it's okay to be called too much. You're not too much for the right people. And actually I did too much, because I always do. So yeah, it was too much, but it was brilliant. So yeah, I went on tour. I've since done another couple. So yeah, I've done 3 UK tours now, which is nuts.
Wow. What a journey.
I prefer the term safari because I'm in Leopard
because of the Leopard Print. Right? Oh, I love it. And so talk to me about the charity then. Like,
okay,
what is the vision and the purpose of your charity that you've built on the back of all of that?
Okay. Yeah. So the charity, basically, through the podcast, we were getting lots of messages day and night from people all over the world. And it was literally breaking my heart that I would be dismissing these people that I know have RSD, that have already been dismissed. They need help. And it was really hurting me. So I would get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and sit for like 5 hours every morning trying to reply to Instagram messages and still not breaking the back of it at all. And then the ADHD Adults started a Discord server. I was like, oh, what's this about? Maybe this is a good idea. So we started this like Patreon community with a Discord server, mostly just so that people could speak to each other and that people could be there, but we could speak to people en masse. And it just got really out of hand because it wasn't the plan. But what you've got to understand is when the podcast started, we were literally just explaining what we were learning in real time. I didn't know anything about peer support. I didn't know that I'd created a peer support community, but I had. And through that, witnessing what happened, watching this thing blossom, all of these incredible people, mostly women, coming together and just validating each other and sharing this knowledge of like, I've been dismissed by my GP, you should try this. I've been recommended this HRT, you should try that. Like, honestly, just mucking in together and supporting each other, but really that validation and community. And what I have witnessed, because it's now it was 3 years of morning body doubling last week. So every single day at 7 a.m. Not always me, But I did start it 7 a.m. We'd log in and we body doubling to the day, which means that people get to work on time, get their kids to school on time, or people that are isolated or lonely, they get some comfort in the morning. They're not alone. You know, we always have a Christmas Day Zoom. Like, this whole online community has just been incredible. And so that was sort of building in the background. The tours started, and the two things combined have basically inspired the charity. Because through the live events, what I noticed was that people were saying, oh, you know, I'd love to come, but I don't have anyone to come with. So I started like a welcome party at the door. And I was like, well, you should have somebody to come with, because there are all these people in your area. It's really important that you connect together. And people did, and friendships were made, and these little communities were born out of these events. And so I was like, right, we need to tie this together, basically. Like, I have 3.5 years worth of true lived experience from late discovered people on all of these very most talked about topics. So, you know, we've got hormones, relationships, rejection sensitivity, work, all these different topics. I have all of this lived experience from these people, and actually know the empowerment that comes from connecting people in their local areas. So ADHDAF Plus is all about in-person meeting. So there are lots of charities doing incredible things. I know ADHD UK, for example, they have loads of online webinars and stuff happening all the time. That's not what we do. We are about getting together in real life and connecting ADHDers in their local communities. So we only started in March of last year, and we've already set up 9 cities have got peer support groups. There's another 5 about to start. And each month, a facilitator, which we have trained and we work with, hosts a peer support group to connect and empower ADHD adults of marginalised genders. And all of the groups that run each month are focused on one topic. And that topic is one of the topics from the Discord server of the Leopard Print Army of listeners of ADHDAF podcast. So, you know, when you hear people say nothing about us without us, this charity is literally about us, by us, for us. It continues to be informed by the very people. And it's just, yeah, like, I feel quite emotional when I talk about it. It's really amazing. And I can't believe it, really. I've not been able to believe anything that's happened, because, as I said, I'm just a troublemaker. I'm just an Ibiza raver. I'm the dickhead who lost the boat. You know, like, I'm that person. To have actually ever even been listened to, like, I got a tattoo of the podcast logo when we hit 200,000 downloads, and somebody said to me, Laura, that's not really that many downloads. Like, 200,000. Like, why would you get a tattoo? I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Nobody's ever listened to me in my entire life. Like, that's insane. So, yeah. So for it to all have come just so organically, so serendipitously, and really just be not just grassroots, but completely community informed and community led, like, it's been really amazing. And I'm so excited for what's to come this year.
And I think if there's anybody out there listening along who's considered starting their own podcast, and we discussed at the beginning, you know, we talked about, why would anybody want to listen to me? And why should anybody listen to you above the noise of everybody else? Because there are lots of podcasts.
So many.
But I think what you've described there is a perfect storm that maybe not everybody can replicate, but we should be listening to, because podcasting should be fun. You should enjoy doing it. You should be passionate about what you podcast about. Whether that's some topics are a lot more boring than others, but it might excite you, right? Like, it's not to you know.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be about something incredibly excited by everyone's standards. As long as you're excited by it, and there's a bunch of other people that get excited by it. But all too often, what I see is people ignoring that in favour of a way of creating a podcast that'll make them money, or trying to.
Yes.
And then, secondly, completely ignoring that community aspect. And I think that is a beautiful lesson for everyone at home to think about, is how can you turn what you're doing into a community of some sort, because that community is what will inevitably, you know, if we move away from the charity aspect, it's the community that builds your business as well. So from every angle, a community is something we should all be striving to create. And I know how hard communities are to build, Laura, so I actually believe that 200,000 downloads, I'd be over the moon as well. I'd be getting a big hairy MarketPulse tattoo on my back. Absolutely. So no, and I think success is different things to different people.
100%.
You know, if you're happy with that, then brilliant, well done.
Yeah, I've never had any advertising in the podcast, and I've been really like criticised for it, but I'm so glad I didn't now. I'm so glad I didn't. There were so many times people were like, well, you could just vlog this, or you could just have this. And it was like, no, because I have never seen ADHDAF as a podcast. It's pirate radio. You know, I had people in the community when the medication shortages first kicked off. I had a spy. I had an NHS spy giving me intel. I was like, right, you need to do this. That's literally what I've done. Like, none of it, even the charity, it's never been what it would. Because I do think differently, and I know that. I'm aware of that. I've never seen any of it as I would imagine most people would see it. It's all activism. All of it. Like, that's all it is.
And what do you think that little girl who was feeling like she was a bit weird at school, how do you think she would feel thinking she'd grow into you now?
Oh gosh. Do you know, like, I think that we are all kind of shaped by some special people in our lives, right? When I was little, my mum had to go straight out to work and my dad worked away as well. So I was put with a neighbour, and my neighbour was this woman called Mary, and she was an activist. And she had a leather jacket. She was very cool. Even though she was older, she had a leather jacket, and she had a little badge on her that said, "Don't blame me, I voted Labour," when Labour meant something. And she used to go on these marches and stuff. And my mum would say, "Go on, tell him what Mary taught you." And I'd be like, "I hate Margaret Thatcher." And I was like 2, right? And at the same time, my mum, she passed away this time last year. She's a really strong woman, and she ended up getting an MBE from the Queen for her services to education. Basically, she was keeping kids in education, so whether they knew it or she knew it or not, ADHD, right? And so I think you're kind of shaped by these kind of heroes that you have, these idols that you have. And I think from that perspective, I can say, yeah, she'd be really chuffed that I'm like Nana Mary and that I'm doing good in the same kind of way that my mum was, and that I'm working hard. I think it's a tricky question. In order for me to fully accept that, I would have to fully accept that. And unfortunately, little girl was so damaged by all of that I don't think that I will ever be able to fully go like, yay, I'm doing a good job. But I'm working on it, I'm working on it. And I think it's a shame that so much rage is what has to propel me forward all the time. But I'm grateful for it because I know that it has made a difference. And I really hope that, this push, we're all part of this push for change, and there will be change. Yeah.
It's a fantastic way to end the episode, Laura. I've enjoyed every moment of this episode. Thank you so much for coming on and absolutely sabotaging my plans. It's been brilliant. Thank you for taking me on safari.
Yeah, we've been on safari and I brought trouble. I always do, and thank you.
Laura, when we get off the episode, please send me any other contact details that you'd like ways people can reach you for various reasons, or get in touch with the charity, whatever that looks like for you, because I'd love to have those in the show notes. And,
wonderful, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone at home, for watching, listening along, whether you're in the car, whether you're sat watching it on the TV. It means a lot to us that you're watching the episodes anyway, but this episode and some of the others are particularly, part of our passion and part of the good things that we're trying to spread with the podcast. So please subscribe, share the episode if you found it useful and interesting. Hopefully we can reach some other people and share the message a bit wider. And I will see you next week on MarketPulse Pros Pioneers. Thanks for joining us for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. Contact details are in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. Your host today was me, Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Here at Javelin, we specialise in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. We describe it as getting ideas out of your head into video and out to your socials.
If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximise your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next Wednesday for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. Our podcast is only possible with your continued support.